Today we're going to do something just a little bit different. I have a large cent that I found. I can somewhat see the date, I can see some of the details, but I'm going to clean it up. With whatever happens to it, happens to it. Now before we get started on this, I'm going to do this and I'm going to let everybody kind of discuss, what they're doing in order to clean these copper coins. We do know what to do on the silver. Don't rub them, don't, scrub them real hard or use any kind of abrasive materials on them. But these copper coins, they're not really worth that much. They are worth a lot to me. I was excited when I found them. I'm proud that I found them, and I like to display them. But having detail on them so people can actually tell what year they are and a little bit more about the coin, especially for people that have never seen them before, is important to me. So just discuss amongst yourselves. I'll try to reply as much as I can, but this is about midweek, and this week's kind of tough for me right now, but I'll try to get to everybody as time goes. But I can only assume that through this video on cleaning coins that we'll have a lot of communication going on, and I'll have to have lengthy replies. So let's just get into this and see what happens. I bought these pencils. Here's what they came in. A complete set of Andre's pen pencils for coins and relics. New. So they're not used, I'm assuming. Which I used them once so far. And they're just little wooden dowels. And they have this thing here, which is a pick. It's a brass end. Brass doesn't hurt steel that bad, so yeah, that could be used, on some items, so that could come in handy. Not so much for coin cleaning, but relic cleaning. This here is steel wool that's been tightly wound into a pencil. And it's pretty tough. It's just like a toothpick. So, and here's another one. A little finer, a little longer. About the same thing. And then there's this one, which I found to be the most useful. And tucked inside of here, tightly wound, is this material. And in this side is the same. And as you use these, this little tip gets worn down to a little nub on there. But the problem is that this is a drilled out shaft. And without putting something back inside here, it doesn't advance it any. And you gotta make sure you don't deform that, what I'm gonna call steel wool for now, you can't deform it, otherwise you won't get that back in there. So let's just take the coin, which is here. Here's our coin, 18, maybe 51. It's recently found at Sham's house, if you watched that video. So two good, nice, crusty sides. Let's do this crusty side here and see what we can come up with by utilizing this tool here, which when it came, it looked more like that. So it's just a puffy end of steel wool. And I'll just state before we start this that I'm a metal detectorist. That's all I am. I swing something that shoots kilohertz down in the ground and reacts with objects such as this, and I like to find them. But I like to know what they are. But I'm not a professional at cleaning these. So that's one of the things that are stemming this video, is that there's many people on here. I've, for some reason, got tons and tons of followers now that I would have never dreamed of, and thank you for that. But now that we have an audience and we can all work together, maybe we can learn from each other, especially on this part here, which is cleaning these crusty old copper coins. Now, if this was coated so much that my date was covered, I'd really want to know that date. If I couldn't see this face and bust on here, I really want to see that. So there's a lot of importance here in enjoying the hobby. So let's just take an end to this thing, and they're both the same, and we'll just start scrubbing away. And what I've learned over the years is that I use a toothpick, and I barely scrub on these coins to get the dirt off. And then I take a little bit of oil, which I actually learned this from Aqua Chigger. Take a little bit of oil off your face. I know it sounds gross, but if you take oil out of, like, say, an olive oil jar and put it on the counter like a little dot, smear it around and wipe it up with a paper towel, and it leaves just a very thin coat, and then take your finger and rub it on there, it's still way too much oil. So for some reason, the oil on your face works really well, which Aqua Chigger had found that out, and I watched one of his videos on doing kind of like what we're doing right now, which is just trying to bring some relief to the coin so we can identify it and see it better. Now, I have never seen any videos. I've looked on the internet and tried to find some information on how to use these pencils correctly. When's the best time to use the really hard pointed things, and when's good times not to use them, and when to actually use this. But just through trial and error on a couple crusty wheat pennies, I found that this thing works the best. It's real concentrated in one area, so the steel wool is tightly wound. And see how this little thing is starting to scratch off? Well, I'm losing some relief. That also happens with the toothpick, and once that comes off, then you've lost any of your identifying features. So I'm going to kind of lighten up. I'm barely pushing, by the way. So that looks like maybe as far as this coin's going to go. Look any different yet? Let's just blow on it and see what happens. It's looking a lot better, actually. Now, I'm actually going to take my finger and I'm going to wipe it on the side of my nose. I know, everybody's saying gross, right? But watch. And spin it some. And there it is. I can see it really well now. The dirt actually helps out. But as you can see on the date's still very rough. And you can see where some of that is chipped off. I'm going to use this here as a pointer. Right here, some of that relief, just like over here, has chipped off. And it's just crusty buildup that's on the coin, but I can tell that it's 1, 8, 5, and 1, 1851. Now, I could have been able to tell that with all the rest of the goo that was on there prior. But, you know, that did do a decent job. Did it do better than a toothpick? I don't know. I kind of like it when the dirt gets tucked in all these little crevices here. And then, you know, you wipe the oil on and it really brings out the relief on the coin so I can read it. Now, this is a worn coin. You can't read the Liberty right here in her hair. You can't see any of the braids in it. But that's that side, using these Andres or Andres, whatever you want to call it, pencils. So here's this. Good old Rhodes American steel wool. 4/0. So we went from 3/0, which is on these pencils. You can see the 3 zeros on the right-hand side, to 4/0. And that's the abrasiveness. This is actually less abrasive than this pencil. So let's try this out. Here's our back side of our coin. Heavy, heavy, heavy buildup. But we'll see if it's going to tear it up or leave us some stuff to look at. So I just pulled off a pinch of steel wool. Very minuscule piece of the entire package of that steel wool. So I'm going to kind of wind it up, stick it in my hands, knead it some so that it turns into something that resembles that right there. There, I have it. Now let's try it again. Alright, so that looks like enough. I've scrubbed on that almost as long, but I have a bigger surface area with this versus the pencil, so it doesn't take as much time. So let's blow on this side and see what happens. Doesn't look all that awesome right now. There's a lot of corrosion on there. You can see the edges of it right there. This most likely was the side that was facing up. You know, this side's not coated as bad. So if that's as far as that steel wool's going to take it, I'm now going to wipe my face again. Ooh, gross. I know. You can make out a lot of the detail, but that coin is pretty shot. But I can tell what it is, which is important. So since this is similar to a toothpick, let's just try to do a little bit of work over here. It's this pencil here, by the way. This thing feels awful abrasive. It's really, really stiff. Like, watch. I can stick it into that cardboard. So it's almost too much to do these. I don't know what that purpose is for that thing, but it's not this, at least in my opinion. Ooh. This thing, for some reason, is just wearing sections out that the 4/0 steel wool did not. I'm just going to do it a little bit more on this 1 cent text part. It might be the glue or how it's wound or something. And you can see that now the green is showing through where the relief of that corrosion that's became part of the text is actually coming off, and it's making it harder to read. I'm going to hit that again with a little bit of oil. Gross, I know. And see, it's just not showing up as well. So there's a point of no return when you're cleaning these. So just go slowly and take your time. But the main side to get is this one for me, so I can identify the coin and the date. helps me know more about my site that I'm metal detecting. So, I know this wasn't that great of a video, but I just wanted to quickly kind of show just what I discovered with these pencils that I actually saw on Instagram, and somebody was trying to use them, so I figured I'd try them out as well. But then once I got them, it looked awfully like this here, steel wool. It's your decision to choose what you would use to clean these coins and do whatever it is to get whatever you need to know off of these coins. You can just leave them as they are when they come out of the ground. That's totally fine. They're not worth a lot of money, like I said in the beginning, but to me, they're pretty priceless. I know pretty much every coin that I found, even if I found it 10 years ago, I could tell you exactly where I found it. Might not know the name of the landowner, but I could describe and know in my mind where I found it. It's pretty cool stuff. Alright, thank you for watching my video, and hopefully everybody discusses talking about cleaning these old copper coins, techniques that they've used, olive oils, ketchup, vinegar. There's a billion different things out there. Sonic cleaners, heated sonic cleaners, using jewelry cleaner in the sonic cleaners, stainless steel media tumblers, corncob or walnut media tumblers, many things. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and until next time, take care.